In this video, we are going to talk about plotting points on the coordinate plane. And if you're not familiar with the coordinate plane, I recommend you go watch my video that I will link in the top right-hand corner of the screen. But if not, we can continue with this problem. So we need to plot the point 4, 7. And to plot the point 4, 7, we need to first understand what this is, right? This is the coordinate plane. And I'm going to go ahead and label the axes as the x-axis and the y-axis. So we want to plot the point 4, 7. So we need to look at the first number. This number here that comes first represents the value of the x-axis, right? So we can count that since each of these notches are increasing by 1, which is given by this right here. So this will be 1, 2, 3, 4. So our x value is here. And we want to go in the y direction, right here, y. We need to go 7. So we're going to move in the positive 7 direction. And positive on the y-axis is up. So this would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That would be right here. Or let me move that up a little bit. That would be right there. And we can see this, right? We can count. I'll draw this line here. We can see that this right here is 7, right, in the y direction. And then from this over here, this is 4. So we know that this is right because we are right 4, right? That's the direction of the x-axis. We are in the right 4, and then we are up 7, which is our y value. And we can do some more examples. So now we can take this problem, and this one wants us to plot the point -3, 2. So we need to remember that this first number represents the value in the x direction, which notice that last time right was positive. So if we want to go in the opposite direction, which is all the negative sign means, we're going to go to the left, and we are going to go 3 to the left. So we can go ahead and count that, right? So this would be 1, 2, 3, and that's our x value. And we're still positive in the y direction, so we can move up 2 in the y direction. So this would be 1, 2. So this is the point -3, 2. And now this question wants us to plot the point 6, -2. But you'll notice something when you look at this graph. The values of each of these notches or increments are not 1, right? They increase by 2 each time. So this goes 2, 4, 6, 8 in all directions, even in the negative ones, right? So we want to plot the point 6, -2. And if they're going up by 2's, that means we can just count off 6 by 2's. So this is 1, 2, this is 2, 4, 6. And that's the value of our x direction. And then -2 in the y direction would be 1 notch down since 1 notch is 2. So this would be -2. So we went over 2, 4, 6, and then -2. So our point would end up right here. Right here. And this is the point 6, -2. And now using the same graph, let's try to plot the point. -7, 6. And you will notice that there is no -7 notch here because they go up by 2, and -7 is not an even number. So this is going to be, you could imagine there is an invisible line here between this 8 and this 6. Let me draw this a little bit straighter. There is an invisible line between this -8 and this -6, and right in the middle, imagine this is perfectly in the middle, there would be a -7. But we don't have this drawn, right? So we can just imagine that this line was here and that this was -7. So this is where our this is our x value. It is -7 in between this -8 and -6. And then our y value is +6, right? So we're going to go up by 6. So this is 2, 4, 6. And that is the point -7, let me rewrite this, -7, 6. So let's do one more problem like this, and now we want to plot the point 15, 0. And the first thing we need to notice here is how much the notches or increments increase by each time. And this time it looks like they're increasing or decreasing, depending on which direction you're going in, by 5. We want to plot the point 15, 0. So let's just start with our x value. And in the x direction, we are going to go positive, and we're going to move 15. So keep in mind these are increasing by 5, so this will be 5, 10, 15. And that is our x direction right here. This is where the x lands. And our y value is 0. So we are going to move 0 in the positive or negative direction, and 0 lies right in the middle, so it's actually going to lay directly on the x-axis. And I forgot to label this, but this is the x and then the y-axis. So this point lays directly on the x-axis at 15 to the right. And I'll write this here. This is the point 15, comma 0. And now we have a different question. Which quadrant is the point 1, comma 7 in? And we can take this coordinate plane to help us solve this problem. And we could actually just try to plot this point, right? So we could go 1 in the x direction and then 7 in the y direction, right? So, I mean, we can do that. So this is 1 in the x direction, then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 in the y direction. And then this is the point. This is the point 1, comma 7. And to find which quadrant it's in, we can draw a C throughout the coordinate plane. And then where the C starts is the first quadrant, and then follow it. So this is second, third, and fourth. But I also want you to notice that we didn't need to necessarily plot this point, because we could realize that since it has positive both x and y components, that this would be the first quadrant, because this is right on the x-axis, so this is positive, and then this is up on the y-axis, which is positive. So just knowing that both of these values are positive, would give us that this is in the first quadrant. And we can use the exact same logic to solve this problem. And this problem asks us which quadrant is the point -6, comma -3 in. And before I just actually draw it out and see which quadrant it's in, let's try to just figure it out. So since there are, or let's first take which direction the x value is. And we can see that -6 would be somewhere along the left side of the x-axis. And then we can look at the y value, right? And that's -3. So we know it's going to be the bottom half of the y-axis. So we know it's going to be in this section here, which if we were to draw the C and follow it, we would see that this is the third quadrant. So I can write quadrant 3 here, right? And that is our answer. But let's actually try to plot it just to make sure. And this would be -6. Let's just imagine that these are increasing or decreasing by 1, right? So this would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then, this would be -1, -2, -3 right here. So that is our answer to this problem. It is in quadrant 3. So let's try one last problem. And this problem asks us which quadrant would a point with a positive x value and a negative y value be in? Okay, well, let's just think about this. The positive x value would leave us with the right hand side, which would give us either quadrant 1 or quadrant 4. And then a negative y value would give us either quadrant 3 or 4. So both of these share quadrant 4, and we could draw this out very quickly. We could see that if this was the coordinate plane, it would have a positive x value and a negative y value, right? So that would leave us in this quadrant, which is quadrant 4.